I I want to stop caring. I just feel like if I start caring about someone, eventually I will make a little mistake and I won't be calm until I resolve it. The thoughts will haunt me constantly through the day, and I try to let them pass during the day and feel them at night. I'm becoming better at dealing with them. It's just that eventually the aggro will take all my HP. I'm just tired of overthinking everything. So this is a great post. Let me show you guys something real quick. So I think that this is, I'm going to give you guys kind of a quick summary of so we have a video about this on the Dr. K's guides in the anxiety module about thought loops. So I think this is like, we're going to kind of cover this real quick, okay? So there are a few issues here. When you start caring about someone and then their opinion matters to you, and then you'll make a little mistake and then your mind will enter a thought loop, right? Like where you try to push it away and it doesn't work. And then like, hold on, let me see if I can find. So this is good. Hold on. Let's see. Nope. Yeah, it's not going to be clear here, but okay. So if you guys have this problem where you like start caring about someone and then you make a little mistake and then you're like, you have to fix it. And then like your anxiety drives you, right? Like you're anxious and you're like, oh, I have to fix it. Like, what if they think this? What if they think this? What if they think this? And then this is good. So I try to let them pass during the day and feel them at night. That's one step in the right direction. I'm becoming better at dealing with them. That's also fantastic. It's just, I'm just tired of overthinking everything. Absolutely, man. So then the question becomes, what do we do about this? Okay. So the first thing to understand is that the obsession of your thoughts has to do with something called rag, which is like attachment or attraction. And so gaining distance from your thoughts is difficult, but that's where vairagya comes in. So vairagya is the process of developing detachment. And then like, this is the key thing. I won't be calm until I resolve it. So I want you guys to think about this. So when I start caring for someone and then I make a mistake and then I think to myself, I won't be calm until I resolve it. What happens to my anxiety when I resolve it? And what happens the next time I make a mistake in the conversation? Okay, so this is important, okay? So this is where now we go to this. So it's kind of hard to deduce here, but I'm going to kind of give you guys a quick spoiler. So sometimes we try to fight it, that doesn't work. And sometimes we feed it, we give in to the anxiety, right? We say, oh, you want to do this? Like, do I need to resolve it? Do I need to like make sure that this is okay? So like you bring your anxieties to people, you resolve it, and then your mind calms. And then all that you're doing is actually feeding the beast of your anxiety. And so the next time you make a mistake, or your mind perceives that you make a mistake, that anxiety is actually hungrier, it's grown, because you've fed it. And then you get into these situations like this person is, where they can't stop thinking about it. Like, I can't help myself. And why is that? It's because this anxiety used to be a puppy. And then they fed it once, and it grew a little bit. And then they entered another relationship, and they started caring. And then they were like, oh my God, I messed up. Let me go apologize. Is everything okay? I'm so sorry I did this. Are you thinking about this? Did I hurt your feelings? I'm so sorry. And that's feeding it again, right? So like it's decompressing your anxiety by giving into it. And then it grows and it grows and it grows. And eventually your anxiety becomes crippling. It's this like gigantic Cerberus. What used to be a Chihuahua is now this like 3-headed dog that is hungry. And like, sure, you can like keep it at bay for a day, but at night it comes roaring back and eventually it aggroes on you and tears you apart with its 3 heads. So what do you do about it? You have to learn how to not give in to your anxiety. And so recognize that you can become addicted to the coping mechanism of relieving your anxiety. And the more you give in to that, the stronger the addiction becomes, and the more you become this insecure puddle of whatever that's constantly seeking reassurance from the people around you. And it's really staggering. It's crazy, right? But the things that we do to fix our anxiety are actually the problems. So this is where the first thing to understand is like recognize what happens to your anxiety. Use your mind. So when I seek reassurance, what happens to my anxiety? Does it actually get better or does it get worse? What happens to it next time? Is it a temporary solution or does it actually weaken it? And so then the question is, how do I get rid of my anxiety? What can I do? So how did we get here? How did we grow the beast? By feeding it. So how do you shrink your anxiety? By starving it. So the next time you feel anxiety, there are going to be some things that are going to be overwhelming that you can't do. But you will feel little anxieties throughout the day, right? Small comments, big comments. Huge social mistake, small social mistake. Tolerate the social mistake. Notice how much you want it. How much you want to give in. You're like, oh my God, like, what do they think? Oh my God, what do they think? I have to make sure that they're not mad at me. I have to make sure that they're not mad at me. And so notice that thing and be like, oh wow, like there's a part of me that's really desperate for reassurance. What does it feel like when I don't give in to my desperation? It feels really bad. Okay, notice all of the feelings that you can. And the more that you notice things, the more you create distance in the conversation, in your mind, the more you create vairagya. So this is important to understand. If you're trying to overcome an emotion, you have to go meta with it. You have to move in an axis that's like perpendicular. So if I'm like having difficulty in in a conversation with someone, so let's say that someone comes into my office and says to me, oh, you just say that you like me because you're my therapist or you're my psychiatrist and like it's your job to like me. And then I could say, no, I really do like you. And they're like, no, you really don't. And then like, how do I fix that as a psychiatrist? Does anyone know? How do I fix this? What if I say like, how can I ever express authentic appreciation? How do I convince that person? Slap them. Pills. You say they're right. Nope. Yeah. So this is what you say. You guys ready for it? You guys ready to level up your speech skill? I'm having trouble explaining to you how I authentically think that you're a good person. I cannot figure out the words to signal to you that I actually think you're a good person. Because what you're saying to me is like an irrefutable argument. You look at the problem and you rise above it. Right? You say like, hey, I don't know how to convey to you that I actually do care about you as a person. I don't know how to fix that problem. This is the problem that I see. I do care about you. I don't know how to convince that to you. I don't know how to convince you. Right? And then they're like, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Then they begin to see. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. Like you can never convince me. And then we're in this situation where like, then how do I ever let you know because I can never convince you? And they're like, okay, weird. And it's weird, but if you guys want to watch this, watch the video, the interview we did with H. June like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So when we were talking with H. June, you guys will notice that in the first half of the video, we were kind of stalling. Okay? And then if you guys watch that video, halfway through the video, I do this thing called going meta. And I like tell him, hey man, we're stalling here. It's basically what I said. And that's how you move forward. So with your anxiety, you can create distance to it, right? Going back to anxiety, like what do? You say like, oh my God, I feel anxious and desperate and I feel like I can't do anything. Like I feel like I have to get this reassurance from this person. Notice that within yourself, you'll create distance from it. The more you create distance from it, the more power you'll get over it. Okay, questions? Chatars? Yeah, so I never learned going meta in clinical psych. It's a big problem. So I think that it's kind of a tricky issue, but like a lot of the things that that I teach are not founded in clinical psychology. They're actually founded from yoga in the East. So they like understood the nature of how the mind works. And so part of the reason that I think that like we take these coaches, right, and we get like outcomes that are not quite as good as therapy, but like in the same ballpark and remains to be seen, is because we teach them some of these techniques that I think are like really, really valuable. But what most of clinical psychology training is, if you think about it, like if you get a PhD for 5 years, how is your time spent? Right? If you get like it's like mostly theoretical. So like you'll do supervision and stuff like that, which is great. That's where all the real learning happens. But this is why like in medical school, you have 4 years of medical school where you don't, like you learn a lot of theory. And then you do residency where you learn how to be a doctor. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to stop caring, I'm with you completely. Right? So this is actually, it's a little bit clickbaity if you think about it. I want to stop caring. And I'd say great. It's not like when you see this title, you're like, oh my God, don't stop caring, live. There's so much to live for. But yeah, I think you should learn how to take distance. And if you won't be calm until you resolve it, you have to learn how to tolerate that calmness. Because here's the thing that I want you guys to understand, okay? The mind is designed to return to equilibrium. It's a waiting game between you and your anxiety. And the most important tool at your disposal is patience. Because I know this sounds crazy, but if you have like, if you have, let's say you spilled some water on your jeans when you were 13 years old when you were washing your hands. And then when you walk out into the hallway and people start laughing, that anxiety will not last until you're 70. The feeling of shame will not persist in your brain until you're 70 years old. It's just not how the mind works. So the mind is designed to return to equilibrium. So it's just a waiting game where the more patient you can be with it, the anxiety will naturally subside because that's literally what our brain is designed to do. I want you guys to really appreciate this. This is really cool if you think about epilepsy. So epilepsy is when your brain, you're having a seizure, right? So there's unregulated electrical activity. So how does the unregulated electrical activity stop? It's because there's a hard, circuit that will put the brakes on your brain and you reset. So it's almost like a circuit breaker in your brain where your brain and your body have all of these reset mechanisms. And so you just have to wait for that anxiety to subside. The same is true of joy. Winning first prize in my school writing contest in the 5th grade does not make me happy and satisfied for the rest of my life. It's just, losing that game of Dota doesn't make you mauled for the rest of your life. It just doesn't. You have to keep on playing Dota to keep on getting maulder and maulder and maulder. So recognize that what you're doing is just riding it out. You're surfing that wave, and the wave won't last forever. It's gonna crash. It's the nature of the brain. It's the nature of the mind. So play the waiting game. And every time you wait it out, the Cerberus shrinks. Loses a head. Now it's a 2-headed Cerberus. Then it's a 1-headed Cerberus. Then it's a Great Dane. Then it's a German Shepherd. And then eventually all the way down to some kind of puppy. Infinite vaulting.